All right, thanks for having me today. So my name is Remi, and I'm an engineer in the wind industry. And today I will tell you about my experience and my colleagues' experience with the CDS. So first, I'll talk shortly about what we do, what data we use, and what we mean by good data. And then, of course, I'll move on to the CDS. So let me see here. No, sorry. So what are we doing in our corner of the wind industry? So wind insight studies, they help answer two basic questions. How much will a given park produce, and what will it cost to build and operate? That includes all questions related to where to place the turbines, what turbines to place, and so I'm giving you here two examples of analysis for which we require CDS data. One of them is the long-term correction of short-term measurements. The other one is high-resolution modeling of the wind field. A third one can be running spectral wave models for offshore wind energy purposes. So as you may know, the wind is a very highly variable resource in time and space, and so taming this variability is really at the heart of wind insight studies. So now, the CDS. So we are all big fans of ERA5. In case you don't know what ERA5 is or you haven't been evangelized yet, it's a wonderful data set that provides you with data over the last 50 plus years, hourly time series of wind speed and other atmospheric parameters. Wasn't always the case. Back in 2017 or so, we were all having a long-term relationship with MIRA2, which is another wonderful reanalysis data set. But in a relatively short time, ERA5 has really become one of the main workhorse of our analysis work. So this is primarily for ERA5 that we came to the CDS, but we also use other types of data, as I will discuss shortly after that. But what is good data, and what is data? I thought it was worth maybe mentioning it before we move on to the more tech discussion. So data, it's often perceived as like just a bunch of files in a computer, while actually it's not. Okay, I think many of you know that, but as engineers, if we want to deliver high-quality, reliable product to build this billion-euro infrastructure project, we really need to see data as a B2B product. And this is all work that requires proper scoping and proper financing from the side of the data suppliers. And so what is this work that I'm talking about when it comes to data management? Well, again, often discussions on data quality at a high level, they come down to, is the data there? And is it good? Kind of, you know? So it's really a narrow perspective on what is data quality. In essence, there are many other necessary dimensions for data quality that you can find in multiple types of guidelines. Here I'm showing you one of them that we use. But these data dimensions ought not to be forgotten. So now that you know about what data we use and what I mean by good data, let's take an example with the CDS. So so it's a busy slide. But what it shows you is that for a typical offshore project in the Netherlands, it shows you what we think are the uncertainties associated to, in this case, the mean wind speed for a given site for different stages of the analysis. So you can see that we're not quite sure about many things. One thing that came out recently as being a new uncertainty or something that needed to be accounted for is the uncertainty related to climate change and future wind speeds. So now a lot of the people in my community are required to answer this question. And the best way we can do it as engineers is to go through some data. So you could say, go on the internet and find the data. And yes, we try to do that. So of course, the data from a scientific perspective are there on the IPCC Connect's website. And you also have all sorts of nice post-process data that I guess the general public finds as useful. But it's really not easy to use. The analysis with this data cannot be done within hours. It requires like days of work. And also it requires some prior knowledge of all of that stuff in order to be efficient. So this is where, for example, the value of the CDS came in for that specific example. Because there you have the same data just ported to the CDS. And it comes with all of these other quality dimensions that I mentioned before, meaning that we don't just have the data, we also have some understanding of where it comes from. We also have good certainty about the way it was processed, so we don't need to spend an awful amount of time to do it ourselves. And it's also quite timely. It comes at the right time. We didn't need to ask for it. It came before we wanted the data. And you could say it's relatively well documented. The difference that this kind of data set makes for me is huge, because it allows me to do things like this, which is basically to deep dive into the climate data and try to figure out what model there are, which model I want to use, which model I don't want to use, for what reasons. And it's a busy slide, it's rather illustrative, but it basically explains that that data being available on the CDS allowed me to do faster and hopefully value-added work for my clients. My last slide today is summarizing some of the things I just explained. The two first elements here is that it's worth remembering that ERA 5 in particular, but also other reanalyses, are used daily and widely for a huge number of infrastructure projects that are these wind farm projects. And it's, in our perspective, a very good platform as it stands today for delivering this data. You could say, above all, I think that it provides a good place for discussion and improvement. And in that perspective, the word store, or as we discussed yesterday with Peter, maybe the word shop would also be appropriate, is well chosen. Because once you open a store or a shop, then you have people like me coming and asking questions, maybe staying late and having coffee and stuff, and discussing a bit more into what is it we want to do next. And I think that, as I already discussed with the people from the EQS, we are eager to participate into improving the service, giving you some feedback, and hopefully also providing some value through the knowledge we have of the site conditions. So all of this and more you can find in a letter which we put together for this opportunity today. It's publicly available on the internet, but if you want it, you can also ask me. It's a 10-page document which summarizes our feedback for the ERA 5 and ERA 6 teams in this case. But like I said, you shouldn't feel afraid of coming and talking to us, because we have quite a lot to tell you. So thanks.
Remi, thank you so much. Are there quick questions for Remi? Are there questions perhaps from the smaller room? What's your name, sir?
All of them, all of them. So we use all of them. So doing wind insight studies really requires to be data agnostic.
Remi, I'm very sorry to interrupt. It seems the microphone was off, so our online audience did not hear it. Generally, by the way, if you're contributing a question, wait for the microphone so people online can hear you, and keep it very close to your mouth. So if I could please ask you to ask your question again.
Yes, my question was, do you use other reanalysis products beyond ERA5, like the other ones that are high resolution or regional?
Yes, yes, yes. We use all of them because we need to be somewhat model agnostic and dataset agnostic. There can be small variations between different reanalyses that are not only due to the resolution, but due to the, for example, some parametrization of the surface layer or things that matter to us. And therefore, we need to go beyond simply like using the data, but also seeing through the data set what is it that makes this data set appropriate for our study. So in general, we never discard any data set. And of course, we have primary data set that we use again and again, and that's the main reanalysis, ERA5, MERA2, combined with measurements, and often downscaling also from commercial products. But we are really, really open to every single data set on Earth.
Remi, thank you.
Thank you.